my co-founders said, I don't know if you're the right CEO, Nanxi.
You met some people who were college dropouts, and you built a company with those 5 people, I believe, correct?
Like, okay, man, you're crazy. I want to join too. That's how we got our initial group of people.
That is insane. First, there's so much to unpack there. Welcome back to Built in America. I'm your host, Sam Mahmood, and today I am thrilled to have Nanxi Liu. She's a true powerhouse in tech and business. She's a co-founder of Blaze.tech, and she's transformed the way business has created through small businesses, implementing technology and apps into these small businesses today. She's created multi-billion-dollar companies like Car Parts, Poeza Group, and even managed $34 billion in assets for the Los Angeles Fire and Police Pension Fund. And did I even mention that she's a Emmy-winning producer, she's a skilled pianist, and a top poker player. I know that's a massive introduction, Nanxi, but I'm very excited to have you on the podcast today.
So delighted to be here, Sam. Thanks for having me.
Of course. I think it's always really important, as you've done so much in your life, you've accomplished, a tremendous amount of business success. Let people understand a little bit about you, your background, and where you came from.
Yeah, absolutely. I came here with my parents as an immigrant. It was right before my 5th birthday. We came here with really nothing. Moved to Colorado, grew up there. Entrepreneurship was certainly not in our vocabulary. For my parents, it was like, if you go and become a lawyer, that's, the really prestigious thing. So did not grow up thinking that I was going to start a business. Went to college over at UC Berkeley, and I would say that's one of the places that I think I was exposed to a lot of startups and entrepreneurship. I had a wonderful entrepreneurship professor who now teaches at USC, actually had me as a speaker. And I always loved telling the students, I was sitting in your shoes as a sophomore where I took this entrepreneurship class, and it really made a huge impact in me kind of deciding I was going to start a company. And so right after college, jumping ahead and can go into more details on it, but basically started my company right out of college with a bunch of people where half of us were college dropouts. The other half had just finished college. We didn't really know each other, and we started a company, and it ended up becoming an industry leader.
I love that. So there's a lot to dive into that. First and foremost, I'm curious, there's a few people who've taken these entrepreneurship classes that then was an inflection point to change their life. Talk to me about that entrepreneurship class a little bit. What enticed you to go start a company? Because from what I remember, you studied nuclear physics. Is that right?
I went into Berkeley as a nuclear engineering major, ended up not doing that, doing a certificate program for engineering, but double majoring in business and political economy. But I'm really grateful for all my engineering courses. I had a 4.0 in engineering. That's what I'm very proud of. But I think when I was at Cal, it was the exposure to not just the great number of opportunities from a extracurricular perspective, but just the students themselves. Everyone was super motivated. And I think I was very intentional to always surround myself with really, really smart people. I'll give you an example. For my entrepreneurship class for one of the engineering courses, it wasn't even an entrepreneurship class. It was really like, hey, you need to go and build an app for the class. And I was like, okay, I don't just want to build this app for the class. Once I build it, I want to go and monetize it. Mm-hmm. And I want to go take it to the next level. And I remember there was this guy who lived on the first floor of my freshman year dormitory, who was like the nerdy guy who never really left his room, but everybody knew that he was this top programmer. And so I messaged him on Facebook, and I was like, hey, I know we haven't talked in a few years. How's it going? And of course he was like, what do you want? And I was like, no, I just want to, catch up, would love to take you out to lunch. And of course at lunch I pitched him. And I was super grateful where he was like, okay, yeah, I'll consider helping and building apps with you. And so for me, it was just I found it really fun. Just the ability to go and build interesting things with people around me. I had so much talent. And so it was for many, many different classes where you have that opportunity to build things. But a lot of people, I think it's just like, built it for the assignment, done. I was like, well, I spent, a couple weekends building this. I'm going to go try to make money. So for one of my engineering classes, this app I built, submitted it to basically this like competition, ended up getting $10,000 for it from the school.
Love it.
And I was out-of-state student, so I was very happy to get as much money out of the school as I was paying tuition.
I love that. So you mentioned that you met some people at Cal, you met some people who were college dropouts, and you built a company with those 5 people, I believe, correct?
There was a total, it was actually even a bigger team, but initially it was the 5 of us, myself and 4 other guys. And we really didn't know each other. I mean, how it started was I kind of became this person that people knew as somebody that can help people build things.
Yeah.
I'm not the best programmer, not the best designer, not the best salesperson, but I had enough kind of broad skill sets and strategy and recruiting people that it was good enough that I got lots of inbound from people saying, hey, there's this person that wants to build XYZ. And because I had so many data points accumulated by the time I was a senior, I got to kind of pick and choose who I really wanted to work with. And so one of the folks I got introduced to, this guy named David, I got introduced to him from somebody I worked with at Goldman Sachs. I had an internship at Goldman. You're working with really smart people.
Yep.
And he was like, I met this guy in Hong Kong. He's like this turned down MIT, dropped out of college. He's building this really interesting company, but he's looking for a co-founder and a CEO. Do you want to chat with him? And this is, the first conversation I have with David. It was over Skype, and I think it was maybe 2 months before graduation. Then the week before graduation, he flies up from Los Angeles. We chat in our sorority, and I'm just talking with him for 45 minutes. I had actually already signed on board to be like employee number 1 for one of my engineering TA's companies that was like, went through YC, got angel funding. And so I was kind of already committed. But then after I talked with David, I was like, you know what? I think I really want to go and do my own thing and build my own thing. And at the end of the 45-minute conversation, I was like, I'm in. Let's go build this software company. And then he goes, takes a Southwest flight where you get to pick where you sit. And so he sits down. This other young guy sits down next to him.
Stop it.
And they start talking. And so this other guy was like, hey, I'm Zach. I just finished my sophomore year at UCLA. I built 2 of the top 10 most downloaded education apps in the Mac App Store. David's like, okay, that's really cool. I'm building this digital signage software company, and I just found my co-founder and the CEO for the company. You want to join us? And Zach is like, yeah, why not? Let's go and do this. I don't really have many things planned for the summer. So yeah, I'll come and join you.
I love
on
that.
the plane. It doesn't end there. Zach goes home. He's at UCLA to his college roommate. They live in Westwood. And he's like, I'm going to drop out, I think, because I met this guy on the plane.
Wow.
He seems legit. I'm going to join this. And his college roommate, this guy named Alex, who is a computer science grad, who already had the full-time offer to go be an engineer at Cisco Systems. Alex is like, okay, man, you're crazy. I want to join too. That's how we got our initial group of people.
That is insane. First, there's so much to unpack there. There's this a mentor and a guy, it's a private equity group called Shore Capital, that talks about when you go build a company, before even building the company, go build your Fab Five with your basketball team. And we talk about the Fab Five as that was the most infamous team at University of Michigan in college. There were freshmen that went all the way to national champs almost 4 times in a row. And then you went and did that prior to starting this company. And I think what the audience should really appreciate is you had a very direct mission on building this company around an app. That was a signage app. And then you found your people first, and then you went all in on that idea. And you found them in a very unorthodox way. So when doing so, did you go and figure out the voids within the skill sets that you had to go find the right people? Obviously, you found them in a very unorthodox way, like I said, but usually when people go build companies, you're like, okay, I'm a coder today. I don't really have a finance background. I don't really have a tech background, whatever it may be. And you're trying to fill those voids. You as a CEO and the visionary, obviously you found them in a very unique way. How would you go back, 10 years ago and say, I'm going to go build a company with the right 5 people by plugging them in the right places? Like, how would someone want to go do that?
Yes, absolutely. I think it's being very deliberate and also being intellectually honest with yourself on what you can contribute and what you can deliver, what your skill sets are, and then also who can you recruit. So for us, there was a little bit of luck there in that each of us actually had pretty different skill sets.
Wow.
And when we were building the company, we were building as 21, 22 years old. I was 21 at the time. It is really, really tough. There's so much you have to do. And I was grateful that we really had our lanes. I was going to be the fundraiser, the strategist, the person putting together the vision and the plan of what things needed to be. And then we had somebody who was the designer, who was just great at creating beautiful products. All the products I've worked with, whether it was the last company or at Blaze, it's very visual products. People are building applications that inherently you need to make sure it looks good.
For sure.
Not only easy to use, but looks good. So we had somebody who was great at doing that. And then, of course, you need the person to build it. You need that developer who is going to take the designs and turn it into reality. And we had another person that was a high school friend of David that joined us. We needed somebody who was just like that polymath hacker, could deal with all the different hardware and nuances. And so he was in charge of that and sourcing, at the time for the last company, we dealt with hardware. And he was just very scrappy in contacting lots of different vendors. I have to say, we did a partnership with NVIDIA. Really, I should have bought that way more NVIDIA stock back in the day because they were so great. They kind of took this chance on a startup, doing the startup with this partnership with us back, I want to say 2015, and was really instrumental in actually helping us grow because they had great hardware that we put our software on top of. But it was these different folks contributing all their unique strengths into being able to make the company successful. And I want to be open and transparent in saying, yes, these were the original 5 people that started it. But I'm also grateful we had the agility, flexibility too, that there were folks that said, you know what, my skill set no longer is contributing to the company's growth. And so we actually had an evolution in the engineering team. And so somebody who was our CTO, who was one of the original co-founders, right afterwards, we actually recruited 2 incredible engineers, Bruno and Tina. They were 2 of the 5 original developers that created Microsoft SQL Azure platform. They joined our team, and I'm glad that one of the original co-founders was able to recognize, you know what, I think Tina needs to be CTO instead of me, stepped down, and then Tina became CTO for the company. And today, of course, Tina is my co-founder, co-CEO at Blaze.tech. But there was an evolution. And I'm, again, want to emphasize it's a really difficult conversation to have.
Yeah.
And there's even been times I'll say, my co-founders said, I don't know if you're the right CEO, Nanxi. So we went through that exercise too, where we had another co-founder step in to be CEO to see if they can do a better job. And that actually wasn't a hard conversation when my co-founder sat me down. It was like, hey, we want a change in leadership. I was like, okay, I just want the best for the company. Obviously, we all have equity in the company. I want it to succeed. I was like, all right. So we did that. I think we had somebody else as CEO for maybe like a month or 2. And it was really humbling experience. Ultimately, my co-founders wanted me back in the CEO role, but it was a great reminder that I shouldn't have this expectation to be CEO. It's earned in my mind. It's always earned. And I still think about that today. Am I maximizing and am I the best person for this? And the people I'm working with, we always try to push ourselves to make sure we're adding value.
Define a good CEO for us.
I think in different stages of the company, there are different things that are required. I think at the beginning, it's somebody who is the visionary. It's somebody who can say, hey, here's the plan. Another thing is really great communication and sales. And what does sales mean? It's not just selling the product. It's selling the vision. It's selling somebody to join the team. It's selling investors. It's selling customers to use the product when it might not be fully ready yet, but you need them to try it out and take a chance. I think it's somebody who has high integrity. I think that is so key. Integrity is one of the core values we have at Blaze. In fact, we just had our 2025 team kickoff meeting this morning. And it's the first thing I talk about. Integrity is your actions match your words. And I think that is so incredibly important. When I tell my team members, here's what I'm going to deliver, here's what I'm going to bring in, here's where I'm going to contribute, and I'm going to promise you that I'm going to get great teammates that also are highly skilled, highly motivated, I need to make sure that's reality.
And Nanxi, to underscore it, obviously when you started this company initially, you were 21, 22 years old, right? You know,
Yeah.
You talked about integrity, that you match your words with what your actions are going to be. Talk to us about the whole fundraising process. You're 22 years old. How do you get people to give you money to go start up a new company in the tech space?
Oh, wow. That was quite an experience. I'm really grateful. From a young age, I experienced a lot of different rejections. So I just wasn't afraid.
Love that.
I've had friends that are like, how are you just like fearless on that? I don't know. I think it has a little bit to do with when I was young, I did piano competitively. And a lot of times for the piano competitions, you face the same other people and you might be playing the same exact piece as you. And depending on the competition, sometimes I'll win first place, play the same exact thing, compete against the same group of people. And then at another competition, I won't even place. And I think at that young age, it's sort of you just have to go and try, and different circumstances result in different outcomes. But I just wasn't afraid to not win or to face that rejection. And then certainly in college, I did so many different startup pitch competitions. Like freshman year, I did a bunch. Sophomore year, I did a bunch. Basically, didn't win any of them. Junior and senior year, I started for the most part, if I entered in a startup competition or a pitch competition, we would win some money. We would be in the top 3 and just getting better and better. So when I came out to LA, I didn't have a network. My parents are teachers. We did not come from a background where it was hey, call up your uncle for money or whatever. But I'll tell you, one of the first ways we got money is we went through an accelerator. We pitched the accelerator. I put together the plan, and I was at that point experienced enough on putting great business plan, putting together the pitch. So that was the first amount of money we got. We got $20,000 when we sold the company. That investor got $5 million back. They did
Wow.
great. And then I went out and networked. I would literally go to events almost every night for that first few months when we started the company, all sorts of random events, startup events. Most of the time, I don't even say 9 out of 10. I would say 49 out of 50 people you meet aren't going to turn into an investor, but that one might. So got lots of no's, but I was not afraid of it. I was expanding my network. And at some of these events, I met some investors. I'll give you an example. USC had this startup and angel investor networking event. I went up to just this group of people, and they were talking. And then there was one guy there, had the badge, said investor. I was like, okay, great.
That's the guy.
That's the guy. All right, let me go talk to this person. His name is Dale. And I start pitching him about the company. And he was like, I'm just going to stop you there. I just want you to know that I've already made my angel investments this year, and I'm probably just not going to invest anymore. I was like, that's okay, but I still want you to know about our company because I think what we're doing is incredible. I think we're really changing the industry, and I still want to give you the background on what we're building in case in the future, whether you have portfolio companies that can use us or you might be interested in again. So I still continue sharing our team, our capabilities, what we've accomplished, what we're building. And you know what? 2 weeks later, we had $200K in the bank from him. And he always said, he was like, even when I told you, no, I'm not interested, you still said, that's okay. I want to share the story. And he was like, I wanted to find a founder that wasn't afraid of taking rejection.
Nanxi, I love that so much. You have this innate ability that you derive so much confidence within yourself. And I think because you're fearless, you can pitch when people even are ready to deny you. Where do you think that confidence is built up? Because my premise of confidence is just having a lot of knowledge in one certain thing, right? People who have who are scared to go pitch in front of a large stage, investors and so forth, usually just aren't prepared. You seem like you come very well prepared. Talk to us about your preparation prior to pitching, how that's so important to you, the skills and tactics that you've used thus far to make you a successful pitcher.
Yeah, absolutely. In different contexts, I leverage different things. And I think any person who builds a company, or really truly anyone, I think all of us have some special talent, and we try to then incorporate that into the conversation as much as possible. Another example I'll give, I was given free pass to go to the Goldman Sachs conference in San Francisco, and I'm waiting in line at registration. And I'm like, how often am I getting this free pass to this super expensive conference? Really, like never. I need to talk to the people around me, because the people around me are all probably important people, more important than me. And one of these guys I'm talking to, his name is Gideon. We start chatting, and when I'm 22 years old, what's that credibility that I can bring in? And people make associations. Like if there's some other success you've had in another industry, for whatever reason, people will think, yeah, okay, if you had success in that, there's a possibility, or I believe that you could bring that capability and excellence to something else. So I mentioned piano, and piano was something where, again, I did it at a very competitive level. I mentioned that I did piano competitions competitively. I mentioned some of the things that I had built in college. And there happened to be a piano, because it's at a hotel. The conference is at a hotel. Happens to be a grand piano there. And so he's like, hey, there's a grand piano here. You want to play something? And I'm like, yeah. And you know what? I go and I play this really difficult, super flashy Mendelssohn piano concerto. And he's impressed. He was just like, okay, all right. He's making this connection of, I said I played piano. I did a good job there. And he was like, okay, well, maybe she can also take that capability into building a startup. Now, that may be completely not something that is always true, but there was a belief that I've demonstrated excellence in one area. And yeah, so he wrote us a $50K check. And again, I'd never raised money really before. I'd not pitched a lot of angel investors, and that was sort of one of the methods. And of course, another important thing is, as a young person, I think the benefit too was people are a lot more, I think, forgiving in terms of giving you the benefit of the doubt. And so even though I was this young person, had not started a software company before, the fact that I was just really following up with everybody, anytime I said, I'm going to send you the pitch deck immediately, I don't wait 24 hours. It's like after I meet you, the first opportunity I get to be in front of the computer, I immediately email them with the information. I immediately follow up. They don't respond in 24 hours, I follow up. And so I don't let other people dictate a timeline. It's I'm not going to wait around for things to happen. I'm going to go make things happen. And I think that makes an impact, because people will attribute that to saying, okay, maybe that's how you're going to be in getting customers on board.
For sure. Time kills all deals.
Yes, that's right.
So based off the journey, what I'm hearing is you were 21, 22, you've raised a few $100,000, probably raised a lot more throughout that process. Tell us what happened with that company, if you can just share with the audience.
Oh, yeah. Through lots of ups and downs, lots of turmoil, plenty of times when we weren't sure if we were going to make payroll. Even like we're years in, we're like, are we doing a good job? And kind of just not being certain about that. I'm grateful. I had an investor. She's an amazing person, Tony Ko. She's on the Forbes list of most successful self-made women. She sold a company for $500 million. And I remember telling me early on, she was like, I don't even know if I was building a company that was going to work out until year 7. I was like, year 7. And at the time, I think I was in like year 2 or 3. And you read these articles when you're in college that's like, oh, here's this company that grew to be $1 billion valuation in like a year. That's just really, really rare. And oftentimes those kind of companies, it's not sustainable. But I think she gave me this perspective that this is not a short game. It's really, it's a marathon. And so for that company, in the ups and downs at year 9, we had lots of different companies that were interested in buying us. Now, that being said, whether they were real offers or not, who knows? But out of the blue, truly, there was a company that had reached out to me, a private equity company via LinkedIn, that said, hey, we've been following your company. Can you give me 15 minutes of your time? Would love to just share a little background on myself. I'm a little skeptical because I've had plenty of private equity folks that reach out and they say they're interested. It's a little bit, and they offer valuations, or they offer some kind of investment that really just doesn't make a lot of sense for us, because at the time we had built the company to be very profitable. We had a very lean team. We had one of the best products in the industry. But I said, I can give you 15 minutes. And basically in that conversation, he essentially asked, what do you want for the company? Like the dollar amount. And I gave him the dollar amount. And then he was like, let me chat with the board about this. I don't think he chatted with the board, because he called me back basically like an hour, maybe less than 2 hours later. And he was like, yeah, we'll do it.
No
And
way.
that's really how it happened. And they moved very quickly. And at the time, I think M&A deals are really delicate. You really do have to have both parties very happy. Now, for us, immediately I was like, oh no, I set a number that was way too low. But you know what? It was a number that I knew my co-founders and I would be very happy with. It was a number significantly greater than other offers that we had in the past. And so I was very open to it. Now, for them, they were expecting to pay a multiple much higher than the one that I had shared. So they were very, very eager. And so you had both parties very excited about the opportunity, moved very quickly. And basically 6 months later, we had closed the deal.
And talk to us a little bit about what happened, when PE Group bought you guys out. Sometimes there's an earn out in place. Do you guys just walk away right away? Do you stay on for a little bit? And then what was your journey there for after?
Yeah, I really think it depends on what the founders want to do. For us, we wanted to go build Blaze. We had been thinking about Blaze for a really long time. We even discussed this, myself, Tina, and Bruno. We ended up being then the ultimate leadership group for the last company in the later years. And we were eager to build a software that was going to solve one of our problems. Basically, being able to build software 10 times faster and without needing to hire additional engineers, without having to write code. We really wanted to work on that. This opportunity came and we said, and of course, the PE group wanted us to stay on board. They had given us the opportunity for some, fancy titles to stay on. But ultimately, I think mutually decided we want really just to take all cash. There was a little bit of earnout that was involved, but it was really an insignificant part of the overall deal. We just wanted cash up front. And by cash up front, I mean that I remember signing the docs on a Tuesday and then cash wired into my bank account on a Thursday, and me taking a screenshot and showing my parents, and then on Saturday buying a Lamborghini, because you got to reward yourself, And so I went through that very intentionally to want to do this all cash deal, but giving us the freedom to then go build Blaze. I had about a 9-month transition with the company, working with them. So through the end of the year, so we did the transaction in March. And so by year end, I was done. My co-founder, Tina, left a little bit earlier. And we just started really talking about Blaze and how we were going to set things up. So we were very excited.
Give us a little detail on Blaze. For what I know about it, it's a software that implements within small businesses. You guys help implement apps and so forth to make small businesses more effective. Tell the audience a little bit more about Blaze.
Yeah, for Blaze, we enable teams to build applications and custom software 10 times faster than if they're writing code. We work with lots of people who have no engineers. We also work with CTOs who love our product because it frees up engineering resources. Our software is really good when you want to build something that's custom, like off-the-shelf software isn't working for you. You need something very tailored to your business organization, and your alternative is to go build it writing code. Then I'm always like, you have to take a look at Blaze. We will save you so much time. We have many companies that, I'll give an example, a software company here in LA, they're a fantastic VC-backed software company, leader in the industry. They built a platform, spent about 3 to 4 months building this application, writing code, and they were able to replicate that inside of Blaze in 2 days, fully, with additional features. They needed extra security. They needed a lot of compliance, and that's all built in and out of the box in Blaze. And so for really organizations that, especially compliance-driven organization, majority of our clients, they're financial services or healthcare companies. We help tons of healthcare systems and healthcare startups go build their MVP. And we become the secret weapon for a lot of these startups where they have very few engineers, but they're building a product that competes against companies that have raised tons of venture money or have spent years building their products.
So you obviously now you've built Blaze now. Now you went through that whole 9-year roller coaster of building your previous company. You know, I probably had to raise capital a little bit more. So how did you structure Blaze differently than your previous company?
Yeah, it was different in a lot of ways on how, for example, the co-founders had equity. At our first company, it still is, I would say, dividing equity between founders. It's more of an art than a science. It's more of a negotiation than a science. And so we had co-founders that had equity ranging from 3% to 30%, a really big range. When we built Blaze, because I knew my co-founders and I had worked with them for a dozen years, it was, we're going to go in just as equal partners. And so that was clear. So that was a very different approach than the first time around. And the first time around, it was trickier because we didn't really know each other. And so we actually had a decent amount of adjustments on equity in, call it like the first year or 2 years. We even had a co-founder who generously then gifted shares to other co-founders because he felt like he had too much. I mean, it was really an interesting situation. But for Blaze, we just went in as equal partners. Now, on the fundraising side, really different fundraising experience. The first time around, I was just trying to pitch everybody under the roof. I'm pitching people while standing in line. I would take the middle seat on an airplane so that I can talk to the people next to me. And let me tell you, that actually worked out. One of the guys was employee number 13 at NVIDIA and made the introduction to Jensen. And I met Jensen. I went and had a meeting with Jensen when he's, again, like NVIDIA at the time was already a huge company. Yeah. But he went and talked to me and spent time with me. And I was grateful when his team then partnered with us. And so I always say was really like hustling. This time around, starting Blaze, a different experience. It was even before we really were building any product. We had VCs that just came in, wanted to invest. And I was very deliberate about who I wanted to work with. And so the two first VCs we worked with are ones that I've known the general partners for many, many years. They've seen me grow my last company. I've had a great relationship with them. And so it was very much, we had lots of inbound versus me going in and trying to pitch everybody under the roof.
Nanxi, when people raise money today, sometimes they don't know how much to go raise. They don't know how to value their company well enough. You know, obviously you have experience underneath your belt. How would you tell the audience that you're going to go start a new company today, knowing how much to raise and not to raise too much to dilute yourself, the structuring of raising capital? This is a complicated situation for many people starting a business or even now want to go raise a fund and acquiring multiple businesses. How did you do it this time versus the time before?
This time I would say much more conservative in that I trust my capabilities and our team's capability. And so we didn't want to have a lot of dilution. At the last company, we were kind of in this interesting position that we actually didn't end up diluting ourselves very much. But part of that is because I couldn't raise money for it to dilute ourselves. We had to go and force ourselves to become a profitable business because I couldn't raise massive amounts of VC money. But this time around, we have the option to go raise lots of VC capital. And I'm a partner at a VC. I also serve on the boards of other organizations. I understand how impactful board members are and how impactful a board in general is, and somebody who is a stakeholder in the business. And so I'm much more careful. And so for us, we've actually just taken the position of trying not to raise too much capital. It's really raising enough capital to get to the milestones we want, and then reaching that milestone where I know we can have this increase, a bump in valuation, that I can then go and raise the next round. So instead of raising too much of this massive initial round, it's doing it step by step. And thankfully, we have investors that very much understand this and are supportive of us going this route where, you know, we're not immediately just diluting ourselves and the other shareholders massively. I did something that was also unique at the last company that you don't see a lot of private companies doing, but it was great for the outcome. As a CEO of a big company, you constantly think about capital allocation. I think as a small company, you think about that a little bit, but not to the extent of like a public company or, again, a large company. And there's this great book that is it's called The Outsiders, and it's about capital allocation. Something I did at last company, I actually bought out investors for the first company. And it was great because then everybody actually then had more ownership in the company such that when we exited, everyone benefited. That was a pretty unique situation. And that was because we ended up building the company to be a profitable business. And I gave some of the investors the opportunity to say, hey, do you want to exit now at this multiple or do you want to stick with it? And some of the really early investors were like, you know what, this is a really good return. And if I can now just cash out of it, yeah, sure. We didn't force them. We gave them the option. This is important because as I go into building Blaze as well, I recognize that even if we had raised a ton of money for the last company, I might have walked away with less money than having not raised a lot of money. And this time around, I think for us, it's going and building the $20 billion organization. That last company didn't quite reach that. And so this time around, we're pushing ourselves to go build the massive company, but doing it in a very thoughtful way. So for us, the early stages of the partners we bring on, how much we dilute ourselves in the first few years makes a really big impact when you ultimately want to grow to that $20 billion valuation.
So that leads into my next question. So, where do you see Blaze going in the future? And what are you solving in the marketplace that you don't see other companies in your sector are doing today?
For us, our focus is to be the best platform for compliance-driven teams to build apps. We want to help all of these organizations be able to go to market faster with the apps they're building, the custom internal tools and products, and then also save them a bunch of money. Now, how do we get there? What's the white space? So what we found is in the no-code, low-code space, you've got a lot of these no-code companies where you can build apps really fast.
Bubble,
like couple of clicks, and you have these no-code platforms where you can, kind of talk with AI and it kind of generates these. Those applications and platforms really don't solve for our customers' needs. Our customers are building pretty sophisticated, very complex applications with very advanced workflows. There's a lot of different user permissioning. There's a lot of logic. There's a lot of calculations that needs to be done. And so really what we found as a problem in the no-code space is that, yes, you can build really fast, but you can't really build custom things. Like you can build something a step above your Google spreadsheet, a little better version of your Airtable, but it's not building full-on custom solutions. Now, on the low code side, you have these companies where you can build very sophisticated applications, but you're still maintaining a lot of code. And for most of our clients, whether they're the SMBs or they're just professional service or organizations that don't have a lot of developers, they don't have the resources to go out and find engineers. And oftentimes when you find a mediocre or subpar engineer, they do a lot more damage and cost the company a lot more because of the engineering debt that's built up. And so we wanted to take the best of both worlds, make it super easy for people to build apps without writing code, so that no code advantage, and pairing it with the advantage of low code, which is you can make things really custom, you have a lot of flexibility, you have a lot of scalability. We pair those together, and then another key piece is the security. We found that there was a lack of security capabilities and compliance capabilities in the no-code, low-code space. So from day one, we made sure that we were HIPAA compliant for healthcare organizations. We have high trust, again, a pretty rigorous certification process to go through for healthcare, and then also being SOC 2 Type 2 compliant. Again, that's a rigorous, expensive process. We did it and started doing that from day one because of the kinds of customers we work with. And it benefits them because we don't want you to just come and build the MVP. It's really about, okay, you've already dedicated this amount of time, money into building your MVP. It needs to scale with your organization and your needs.
And Nanxi, how do you acquire customers today? It's obviously a quite competitive space. You're the CEO. You're trying to drive sales. You seem like a sales-driven CEO. And on a platform like this, what's the fastest way to go acquire customers?
Yeah, one of the methods that we did at the last organization that just still works really well, it's actually organic. For us, all of our sales, for the most part, besides the referrals, they're inbound. So they're discovering us, they're trying our product, they're building kind of a proof of concept, and they're seeing the strength and power of the Blaze platform. So we actually just have one salesperson, and that salesperson doesn't even do outbound. It's actually just being a person that's helping people that are interested in Blaze be more familiar with it. So his calls are more consultative calls of understanding, hey, can Blaze be a really good fit for you? But we're very grateful that we have a lot of great word of mouth. People who built successful apps, they want to share it. They share it with the world. They talk about Blaze. And so, yeah, it's a inbound funnel that we build. So demand generation.
Talk to me about the importance of product. I think people today, to create a company today has never been easier, but to actually scale a company has never been harder, right? Because of all the competition in place. You emphasize product a lot and making sure that your product is superb compared to the rest. What are some of the things that you look at within product that separates your product from other people's?
I think back in the day, as a B2B software company, like you have these big companies out there that are selling B2B enterprise software for extraordinary amounts of money. And back in the day, I think you can get away with doing that, and you like take them out to dinner and you know,
Schmooze
like,
them.
yeah, lots of schmoozing, and you spend a lot of marketing dollars there because your product is mediocre. I think there's so much transparency in today's marketplace of people doing YouTube videos. There's third-party review sites where we have 5.0 reviews across the board, ranging from Capterra to G2 Crowd, these third-party software review sites. And I think there's so much transparency, and it's going to continuously get more transparent, that you can't hide a bad product, and you really can't grow and scale nowadays as a new company when you don't have a great product. It's just going to get out there. And so for our team, we emphasize the importance of giving our customers a great product, great onboarding, and great support. I think one of our differentiators too that we also find in the software space is lacking is that very strong support. This is something we hear from lots of our customers. They're like, I can't believe when I ask a question and send a support email, how quickly you guys get back to me and how hands-on. I learned that at the last organization, in that was a differentiator. I never planned for that to be one of our product differentiation. But when it comes to B2B software and people are building core applications, for us to give them that hands-on, immediate, fast support, it makes a really big difference. Because again, if we're like this, a nice to have software, like a software that's not necessary, but it's like a nice thing, I'm not using it constantly, you can get away with support that's not, getting back to you within 12 hours. You can get away with support that's like mediocre, or like sending you a support article. Oh, here's how you solve it. But when it comes to our clients, they're building core applications, really significant applications that they want to have that immediate hands-on support.
That's huge. I think that's what separates the marketplace from many software companies today. You don't want to call 1-800 number or some random email service. So I commend you for doing that. There's more to you than just building a software company, that many people don't know, that I was able to discover. You are one of the top poker players, I guess, probably in Los Angeles over here. You played at the World Series of Poker. Talk to us about that. I have a good obsession with poker for the game, just for the mere fact that it's a opportunity to go learn how to read people. We play almost once a month with a group of good friends from Hampton and other friends in Los Angeles. And the money at the outcome is nominal. We don't really care who wins. But to me, it's actually training my brain of like, am I reading this guy? Is he bluffing? Is he a good poker player? And that's like reading the room, which is like very similar to pitching, business, being a CEO, kind of having that personnel skill. So talk to us about your poker journey, why you got into it, what that has done to you in the professional setting as well. Dive into that a little bit.
Okay, I am definitely not a top poker player. I just want to clarify that. I'm very grateful of having played in the World Series of Poker, having gotten very lucky that I cashed the first time I played it. First and only time, I should clarify.
Amazing.
I played in it and then getting top 5% in the cash winnings, but definitely not a top poker player in any sense of the word. Now, I do have a humble brag. We just did a team poker event. We had with our entire team globally, and we were doing it online. I did end up winning.
There you go.
That one. But again, I think poker is one of those, like, are you a good poker player takes a lot of data points. And I have not had the longevity of a poker player to say I'm even close to that. Poker was something that was just fun. I just wanted to learn it. So I learned poker about a month before I played in the World Series of
Out
poker.
of here.
Yeah, I kid you not. I felt like it was something, a lot of people, it's part of pop culture. It's like, okay, I got to go and try this out. I didn't even know the order of hands, the ranking of hands. So I was learning all of it, but it was really fun. And it was one of those things, I try to do this with lots of different random skills or hobbies of just, let's see how far I can take it. If I'm going to learn poker, what is the, ultimate kind of test to see my skill set? And of course it's playing the World Series of Poker. But I learned the week before. I got obsessed with it. I was reading books, I was doing home games, I was organizing home games, I played in practice tournaments just to prepare myself. And I would have to say that all kind of goes, especially you need to know statistics, but it's not as important in a tournament setting. So much of it is that social game. And I learned a ton. It was some of the highest adrenaline for consecutive hours I'd ever experienced in my life. Like literally afterwards, 3 days of nonstop playing poker, I literally couldn't sleep. It's just like you are so pumped up. And I went with a bunch of friends, some of them who are professional poker players. Everybody couldn't believe what happened. I couldn't believe that. My friends were like, if you can just last 20, 30 minutes in the tournament, that would be great. That was my goal going in. It was like going on a Disney trip. Just having fun. I'm supporting the Las Vegas economy.
Yeah.
It was not intentional there. But I have so much fun playing poker with friends still. I don't play a ton. I haven't played in call it like one of those official settings since then. But the thing that taught me is just, you got to go take your shot and try it out and to keep pushing myself.
Do you remember the hand that got you?
Oh my gosh. It still brings so much, call it like angst when I think about the hand I lost that I went all in on. Because if I had done nothing, if I had I had accumulated so many chips that all I had to do was really do nothing, just pay the antes for a while, and I could have probably ranked in that tournament maybe top 100.
Wow.
But at the time I had already was in the bubble, and so then my friends were like, oh, now you just got to just go hardcore, be really, really aggressive. Ultimately I didn't really care about, I was not going to win, that was not going to happen, but the ranking in my mind mattered. Instead of top 5%, I could have been top 2%. But yes, I absolutely remember the hand that I lost.
And Nanxi, you're part of some philanthropy now. You live in LA. You work with the National Foster Youth Institute of the Dodgers Foundation. Tell us a little about the philanthropy that you do today, where you're giving back. You probably have a lot of young entrepreneurs who look up to you. Where does that part of your life really go towards?
I love being able to give back to the community. I feel like as much as I enjoy building a company, I think I enjoy being able to support people that really have no direct benefit to me, because I think when I was growing up, I had a lot of community support. I had organizations that, whether it was free after school programs, or there was our family, we were really poor. So we had this program in our community called the Free Bread Giveaway, where the local grocery stores that had bread that was expiring that day, they would give it out, they'd hand it out, and we would wait in line for that. There was just all sorts of programs that we benefited from. I was one of those kids that wrote the Dear Santa letter. At the time when I was a kid, I was like, this is awesome, not knowing they're really just giving it to the poorest kids. But I was so grateful for those that then I participated in being one of the people that would take one of those letters and send the gifts to the kid that was asking or writing it. And so I think it's just always been very important to my family to give back. And so from the National Foster Youth Institute, I love the work that we get to do. We do nationwide legislative advocacy work to help provide better outcomes for our foster youth and their families. For the Los Angeles Dodgers Foundation, we fund lots of nonprofits across LA. We're supporting initiatives from youth sports, building free baseball programs and baseball fields to underserved communities. I'm also involved in After School All-Stars on the board of that organization, where that's free after-school programs to a lot of the LAUSD schools. And it's really fulfilling. It's, I think, for me, very important that as somebody who's building business and having joy there, that I contribute in a way to the broader community.
I love that. I mean, I think the impact that you're doing in the community, what you built thus far, people can get impactful knowledge from you. So I commend you for doing that. Nanxi, how we finish off every episode, we do a rapid fire questions.
Oh, all right.
So be prepared for this
one.
Okay. Whose social media account is most entertaining today?
Elon Musk.
Of course. Money is not an issue. What company are you buying today?
That's a really good one. You know what? Alphabet.
Okay. What is one tool or resource you cannot live without?
My phone.
Who is the best person in business you've interacted with and why? We're getting you a little bit, huh?
Ooh, yeah. There's so many. I'm going to call out one of my friends, Trevor Blaze.tech, who's the co-founder, former CEO at GoodRx, based here in LA. And he just has given me some really great, thoughtful tips that have stuck with me. So that's a recent one. I feel like that's a recency bias I have.
That's good. Best book and why?
I have so many books that I love. One that I will point out, I'm going to say recently. All right, best book I read, I think in the past year, is Pachinko. Oh. It's a beautiful epic. It's fiction, but kind of historical fiction. Great writing, beautiful storytelling, demonstration of the impact of our ancestors.
I like it. A little fiction is good for the brain sometimes when you're doing all this business work. What's next for you on your entrepreneurial path?
Focused on Blaze, focused on supporting other entrepreneurs.
Love that. Nanxi, it's been awesome having you on here. Where can people find more about you?
They can check out the blog at Blaze.tech. They can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Nanxi_Liu. On Instagram at Nanxi Liu.
Love that. Thank you so much for being on the podcast, and hope to talk to you soon.
Thanks for having me. This was fun.